You've probably seen the TikToks and the reels talking about how expensive it is to apply to medical schools. If you have not, let me fill you in really quick. It can cost easily upwards of $5,000, and for some people, well into the 10,000 range. From the MCAT, secondaries, interviews, and everything between, the costs really add up quickly. It can just feel like another massive hurdle on top of the already challenging journey to becoming a medical student. But guess what? You don't have to go broke to chase your dreams of becoming a doctor. Today, I'm sharing my ultimate guide on saving money on your medical school application cycle, everything along the way, with practical tips, resources, and even some secret hacks to help you keep more money in your pocket. This video will cover everything you can do to easily split that bill in half or even more. Let's get into it. How's everyone doing? My name is Med. Welcome back to another video, and today we'll be talking about how you can minimize the cost of applying to medical schools. Currently a third-year medical student about to go into my rotations, and I wanted to share some of the resources because in my experience talking to classmates, people didn't even know about some of these resources and wish they did, having spent thousands of dollars potentially in credit card debt that really can be a snowball downhill. So hopefully this video can teach you guys a little something and save you some money. Let's start at the beginning. The MCAT in 2025, registering for the MCAT costs $335 in the US and $460 internationally. But there's a way to reduce that or even eliminate this fee. There's something called the AMCAS, the assistance program. And who is it for? It's essentially for people with financial need based on household size and income. I'll be talking about this later on in the video, so just stick around for that. But what does it cover? The MCAT registration is reduced down to $140. And you also get free access to the MSTAR, the Medical Student Admissions Requirement Database. And this is a absolute need for medical schools in making a school list and deciding what schools you apply to. The cost for the MSTAR database is $28 for 2 years, just about that on average. Not only that, you get free primary applications for up to 20 MD schools. That is about $1,000 value, $1,030 to be exact. If you learn everything about the AMC, the assistance program, I'll drop a link in the description below, and I will talk about it later on in the video as well for some more details. Very similarly to the AMCAS application, the ACOMAS or the osteopathic application has very similar discounts on the application fees, albeit it might not be as much as the AMCAS, but everything helps. Please check out the fee assistance program for ACOMAS. I will drop another link in the description for that below. Okay, now you're registered for the MCAT, and hopefully you save some money there. And it is now time to prepare for the MCAT. And I've seen courses well into $5,000 plus range. And this is just for taking the MCAT. You haven't even come to touching the applications. So you can just easily imagine how this can add up into the $10,000 range. Let's talk about that budget-friendly options for the MCAT preparation. So it is closer to that $0 range than the $5,000 range. I'll be completely honest, it will be pretty difficult to be on the $0 range. It is possible, but there are some resources that are highly recommended. I'll mention it in this video as well, but I'll talk about it in more detail in my MCAT prep videos. So please keep an eye out for those when they do come out. But first, for the free and low cost resources, Khan Academy has a lot of medical and pre-med videos that are very high yield for the MCAT, and this is very good to build your content base. And they're all on YouTube, and I believe they had a website for a MCAT course, which was entirely free. Next is the AAMC official MCAT Hub. This comes with the assistance program, and they include practice tests and sample questions. Keep in mind, this is the gold mine for MCAT prep. This is coming directly from the creators of the exam. So they know everything that is going to be on the exam. And this is really the gold standard that you can get. This is the best quality questions and material you can get for the MCAT. So reserve this for the last part of your study prep. And once again, this will be highlighted further in my MCAT prep videos, but there are definitely free resources from the AMC that can help you with the MCAT prep. And as you found this channel, there are several different YouTube channels that are dedicated and can help with the MCAT prep along the way. The Organic Chemistry Tutor, Ninja Nerd. Those are some favorite resources that even medical students use currently in their prep for clinicals and even beyond. Especially Ninja Nerd, shout out. That guy has saved me through embryology, especially. And for MCAT books that you can get, like Kaplan or Princeton, they can cost upwards of $100, maybe even $250, depending on if you buy like bundles that come with like flashcards and other resources. But there are ways of doing this for cheaper or even free. For the cheaper part, we'll start with that. You can it is very common that students that have taken the MCAT, so upperclassmen, if you know of any, keep an eye out because they do offer selling their MCAT books, their prep books, for the most part, not that marked up. And you can really easily go through the material. And whether you get an old version of the MCAT books, whether it may be from 2021 and it's 2025, that really will not play a major factor as most of the content will still be the same between the two editions of the book. And for the free part from MCAT prep books is going to be many libraries. If you keep an eye out and try to visit very often before when it comes time for your MCAT prep, they might offer prep books for free checkout and you can easily use them. You won't be able to mark up in them, but you can definitely read through them for free of cost at the local libraries. And even school universities might offer these study materials in their libraries. And if you don't know any upperclassmen, keep an eye out on Facebook, eBay, and Marketplace in general. People often sell these prep books for cheaper. Okay, now applying to medical schools. This is probably the biggest chunk, was my biggest chunk. We've crossed the MCAT, and now it's time for the applications. There are three different kinds of applications: MCAS, COMAS, and TMD SAS. I'll talk about the first two here in a lot of detail because honestly, in my opinion, I believe that they cost the most amount of money. So for MCAS, it is $125 for the first primary application for the first school and $45 for another additional. And a COMAS, which is the DO application, the osteopathic application, it is $198 for the flat baseline fee for the first application and another $55 for each additional school you add on to your school list. And there are very many ways to save money. First is applying strategically. I mentioned earlier the MSAR, the Medical Student Application Resource, and this once again comes free with the fee assistance program. Otherwise, it's less than $30 typically, so it's still a very crucial resource that you do invest in if you do not qualify for the fee assistance program. And this is used to find schools that align with your statistics that you get, your GPA, MCAT, all your scores. This has a database for all of the most recent applications and it gives you a spectrum for how many students they accept from, let's say, below 510 MCAT. So this is very useful in building that school list. You don't want to just apply to every school just in case, because that's how you really rack up the cost of the application. You want to make it realistic and focus to similar statistics. Obviously, I'll talk about this in another video if you guys would like, but there's tiers that you apply to for schools. There are no safety schools, but there's like reach schools, target schools, and safeties, if you will, and you don't want to be all in on one category or another. Once again, I'll talk about that in another video if you guys would like more of the specifics for making a school list, but you don't want to apply to every single school. Another point is to avoid the temptation of applying to the top 10 Ivy Leagues, the top 50 schools. Don't go on Google and type in top 50 medical schools in the US and just apply to 50. Once again, just use I'm sorry. That is not a realistic way of going about things unless you got a 4.0, 528, but that is a vast minority of the applicants. And if you qualify for the fee assistance program, the MCAS application waiver qualifies for 20 of your initial application fees, which is upwards of $1,000. That is a massive deal that you can get if you qualify for that program. And the Akumas still, it might not be $1,000 worth, but it really still is upwards of $200. It covers, I believe, the initial and maybe one or two more schools, and that is still very helpful. That is probably you're pushing $200 to $300 range of savings right there. You bought all the MCAT, you took the MCAT, got a good MCAT score, you apply to medical schools. And next part is probably something that maybe not everyone knows about the application cycle are called secondary applications. These are sneaky expensive and they really add up really quickly. It can be often $50 to $150 per school. So if you're applying to 20 schools, you can just imagine if it's $100 on average, that's another $2,000 of fees that you have to pay to consider your application as complete. I once again want to emphasize the importance of applying strategically. Only submit secondaries to schools you're truly interested in and truly have a chance of getting into, and accepted as a student. I have many ideas for secondary applications, so stay tuned for those videos if you would like some advice on that and how to make secondaries the best possible essays you can to maximize your chance of getting in. So how can you reduce the cost of secondary applications? Great news is that for MCAS applications, if you qualify for the fee assistance waiver, many schools automatically, without you even asking, waive the applications for those students that have the eligibility for the fee assistance program. If you're approved, you don't even have to ask. Most of them will be automatically waived. So that's another possibly $2,000 you're saving right there very easily. If for some reason the school does not offer it automatically to eligible applicants, please feel free to reach out to the school, either give the admissions committee a call or send them an email, and just show that you have qualified for the fee assistance program. Either it is ACOMAS or MCAS, and more likely than not, they will waive that fee for you. Just don't be afraid to ask. It will not hinder your chances of getting in by any means whatsoever. It is definitely worth a shot of asking. Okay, you got through the MCAT application, and now it's time for interviews. Let's be honest, COVID really has helped a lot of people with saving travel costs. You don't really have to fly into many interviews anymore. That being said, schools are transitioning back in person interviews because really that is the best way, in my opinion, and a lot of the faculty and admin have talked to and come across as in regards to gauging the true sense of an individual. It's that one on one interaction in person. So it is not unrealistic that schools may revert back to having only in person interviews. It might be a hybrid option, or they might give you the choice of wanting to come in person or do a virtual interview. If it's virtual, obviously you don't have to have any travel costs at all. If you're given the choice, if you're unable to travel and for the cost of travel, definitely consider the virtual option since a virtual interview is better than no interview at all. If you do have to travel for in-person interviews, please try to book this in advance. Use the third-party websites, Priceline, Kayak, whatever you can find. You can definitely find those flights for cheaper. When you get to the institution, it's very likely that the school offers student host programs for visiting students and applying students that you can just live in house with the current student for free of charge. And you can also stay with friends or family for your local. If you know of other applicants, you guys can get an Airbnb together to save some of the costs. In terms of a student host, it is very important that you treat them as part of the interview process. Obviously, they're not interviewing you, but any sort of negative experience that you have with them can hurt your chances of getting in. So this goes without saying, but please be mindful of your interactions with them and just be professional and respectful. And the next part is about how we already talked about a lot of different costs for medical school applications and different times. So it is very important that you keep track of your expenses, and budgeting is very useful in tracking all the costs and potentially where you're saving money in terms of financial planning. If you do have several costs that you're unable to afford, consider getting a credit card that is offers discounts or has deals where it is 0% interest for 12 months or even 2 years. I've seen that being offered. That is something you can do. Put down that payment on a credit card and not accrue interest for 2 years, essentially. Okay, that was a lot of information, but hopefully you guys found it helpful. Let's quickly recap how you can save money during the medical school application cycle. Apply for the fee assistance programs for the ACOMAS and AMCAS applications early, and do not leave your money on the table here. Use the free MCAT resources like Khan Academy and prep books that you can find for a lot cheaper than you might be if you're buying it in the current edition online. Apply strategically and focus on the schools that really fit you and that revolve around your statistics. Be smart about your secondaries and make sure you would be happy at the school that you're applying to with the secondary. And don't be afraid to ask for a few waivers for your secondaries. Schools are very understanding. If you explain your financial situation, they will be very likely to be willing to accommodate you. Take advantage of your virtual interviews and your student house. And most importantly, is tracking your spending and planning ahead. I know this can seem like a lot and maybe overwhelming, but the earlier you start thinking about this and the earlier you start planning for this can really pay dividends in this path, as the cost of medical schools is no joke. I will probably make another video about the cost of being a medical student, that is, and how you can minimize some of the loans that you might be having to take out. So stay tuned for that video. If you found this video helpful, give it a like. If you dislike the video, dislike the video. If you have any comments, thoughts, or concerns, please drop them in the comments. Subscribe to my channel. I'll really appreciate it. And share your own tips below. Let's help each other out. I can't wait to hear them. Thank you so much for watching, guys. It's been Montu Med. I hope to catch you on my next video.